Joining me again, Democratic strategist Leroy Jones Jr., who is a partner of 1868 Public Affairs, and Republican strategist Bill Spadea. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Do you think his speech played more like a re-election year speech than a State of the Union address? What do you think, Bill?
Without a doubt. I mean, I think, first of all, he seems to have recycled a lot of the same themes from his last couple State of the Union addresses, and he's got some facts that are really getting in the way of some of the rhetoric that he's throwing out there. I mean, first of all, you look at, he's got really three problems. One is unemployment. Two is the anemic growth of the economy. You can point to a couple key indicators, but the reality is that if you go back to some of the recessions in the past, and particularly if you go back to the 80s when we had a recession under Ronald Reagan, we had 9 quarters of straight economic growth that was in the 8%. If you average it out, it was about 6 to 7%. This president has only seen a couple quarters where the growth has been about 3%, and most recently only 2.8%. And then the third issue that he has is health care. We've got 30 million uninsured Americans that are going to get onto the government rolls, and somebody's got to pay for that. So he's got a problem.
I think you'd have a different reaction.
I knew he would say that. I really did. Of course, it's re-election time. I mean, that becomes, the mantelpiece of the State of the Union. The president has to get his message out there clearly. The message is about fairness. The message is about uplifting the middle class. The message is about, continuing, the growth in, job production in the country. It's about, rewarding companies that produce jobs within our borders, and it's about adding tax cuts, or excuse me, tax increases to. You like that?
We like that.
Tax increases to companies that farm their jobs outside the country. So he's putting together the fundamental building blocks, along with the obstructionists that occur on the other side of the aisle, to beat back this during an election year, because it's all about who's going to conquer the White House, who's going to get in the White House, who's banging down the door, and we'll talk about those candidates in the next segment, but the fundamental purpose of that message that the president delivered the other night was to clearly say that it's about fairness in America, and it's about high time that we begin to provide.
Now he did mention rewards, though. So when we talk about unemployment rate going down, who do we give those reward points to? The president or the governor?
But Bill, think about it, though.
Now, who do we give those points to?
There are two questions. One, the jobs that are being created locally. I mean, look at some of the job creation going on in Connecticut, going on in Texas, going on in other states. So the president, on one hand, where you have some job growth, is taking credit for things that he hasn't done. As a matter of fact, I would say the president has been the chief obstructionist to economic prosperity, because unlike presidents before him, he insists on a plan that spends more money and raises taxes. And you know what? Those are two things that have never gotten us.
See, you're even confused.
Remember,
right,
though, unemployment was at 7% when he took office. It's at 8.5%.
I think it's called the State of the Union, and the president clearly outlined the State of the Union.
It's not good.
All those.
He said it was.
It's getting better. It's getting better.
But on one specific issue, unemployment rate going down, do we give credit to?
You give credit.
Governor Christie,
you give credit where credit is due.
Or President Obama.
You give credit where credit is due. And you give it to Barack Obama, because it all starts from the
which of his policies created jobs? Actually, if you look at it, it's the governors that are tackling spending at the local level, the governors that are giving tax breaks to bring businesses in that are hiring. I would say he doesn't get any of the credit. If he gets any credit at all, it's for spending $1 trillion in stimulus money to create these jobs that are now going away. Look at the Solyndra mess. So I think
what about manufacturing? Do you think that really is a key to job growth?
I think it's a huge key, absolutely. But the way you stimulate manufacturing, again, is you've got to deregulate, and you've got to lower taxes for these companies so that they have the incentive to create jobs. This is what happened. If you look at, and it's both sides of the aisle. It's not only creating jobs, which will.
With something that the president did say in his speech, that manufacturing is the key to jobs.
You know what? We agree with that. Yes, I think there are two.
It comes full circle. See, it comes full circle.
But
you can't escape it.
Listen, any politician can get up and say anything they want, and I think it's very clear this president
has been good at being able to do that.
But he's accomplished something. This president has not.
He's only accomplished it based on the foundation that Barack Obama has laid out. For the state of New Jersey and all the states that are part of the union.
Now, the president did address raising taxes on the wealthy, and that obviously is not going to go over well. He talked about taking the burden off off the middle class. But critics say this is class warfare. What do you say to that?
Well, it's obviously becoming that. When you look at the inequities, within our tax code, when you look at the inequities within our income structure, there are gross inequities. When you even hear about tax cuts here in New Jersey that are largely skewed in favor of those that are rich and powerful. So there's clearly a class divide in this country, and all the State of the Union, again, the foundation of that whole speech and his vision going forward, as it's been from day one, is to level the playing field.
Now, I know Bill's got a quick response.
Quick response. It is economically and factually flawed. If you go back to 2003, when the Bush tax cuts took effect, and you take it out for 4 years to 2007, government had an additional revenue of $800 billion. So if our goal is to pay for all these programs that the president outlined in his last couple State of the Union addresses, the president should be championing tax cuts, because that's how you're going to raise revenue.
Okay. We'll be right back. Next, the GOP race. Is Newt Gingrich's win in South Carolina putting pressure on Mitt Romney as Florida nears? And what impact can it have on Governor Chris Christie here at home? More when New Jersey Now continues. Stay with us. The heat is on. A week after GOP presidential hopeful Newt Gingrich scored a huge victory in the South Carolina primary, Mitt Romney looks to rebound in Florida. This as Governor Chris Christie continues to throw all of his support behind Romney as the GOP presidential nominee. Joining me again, Democratic strategist Leroy Jones Jr., who is a partner of 1868 Public Affairs, and Republican strategist Bill Spadia. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming back. Some analysts say the turning point in the campaign so far for Gingrich was in South Carolina in the debate when the subject of open marriage came up. What are your thoughts?
Well, he has been attacked personally, and I think he handled it well. And I think if we've learned anything, that the minute you go personal, it helps the guy that you're attacking. I mean, let's face it, the Republicans went after John Corzine in 2005. They brought out his ex-wife and ran an ad, and there wasn't a person out there that said, "Oh, really? His ex-wife has bad things to say about him." So I think all of this attack on him that has been personal and having nothing to do with the issues, it looks desperate, and I think it's actually helped Newt.
Yeah, okay. I agree.
But meanwhile, Governor Chris Christie continues to support Mitt Romney, and even saying that Newt Gingrich has been an embarrassment to the GOP. I mean, even when he was a Republican Party head, and he also says he's been an embarrassment to the Republican Party when he was Speaker. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, he's right.
I wasn't expecting that response.
He's absolutely right.
Okay, Leroy, how do you really feel?
But I think the governor's obviously tied to Mitt Romney. He's put a lot of his political capital on Romney, and it's all about him and Romney right now. He went through this whole charade about whether I'm going to run for president or not, and this big announcement. Came back and endorsed Romney after he stepped away from the national stage, and now he has to do everything possible to ensure that Mitt Romney doesn't embarrass Chris Christie.
But former VP candidate Sarah Palin took a swipe at Governor Chris Christie, saying it was a rookie mistake.
See, well, I don't agree with her that it was a rookie mistake. I actually think it was calculated. I think it was a very self-serving remark from the governor. I mean, I think the governor looks at it and says, well, if Mitt Romney becomes the nominee, he's got a shot at beating Barack Obama, if you believe some of the national polls. We could discuss that. And he's got a ticket to ride, whether it's Attorney General or something else. On the other side, I think a lot of folks, like Governor Christie, don't believe Newt Gingrich would be able to win, so he sets himself up nicely for 2016. Now, I would argue that Newt Gingrich is probably in a better position to beat Barack Obama, and the reason is that he's the one that can really draw the line and show a contrast. And I think, if anything, this election is going to be about the contrast, whether we want more spending and higher taxes or we want less spending and lower taxes. And I think that's going to be the key issue. And healthcare. Healthcare is another huge issue.
Does it mimic the fight last year in Congress between moderate Republicans and Tea Party candidates?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have, what you're witnessing now is, an implosion, within the Republican Party. There's obviously two wings in the party. One wing is, now, attacking another wing. Obviously, Chris Christie with the comments about Newt Gingrich and the personal attacks on Newt Gingrich, which do nothing but destroy the the foundation of the party. And as they go through the primary process throughout the country, and we get to the November race, whoever's left standing will be so bloodied, that they will never ever have an opportunity to, to even, mimic the word "Hail to the Chief."
Leroy, I really thought we were going to agree a lot more during this segment, and I got to tell you, I couldn't disagree more. I think it mimics the Clinton-Obama primary. Look, primaries make a party stronger, not weaker, because you get these candidates that go through this tough vetting process, and by the time one of these candidates is left standing to face Barack Obama, it's going to to the issues. So I would argue the contrary is true.
Do you see Chris Christie standing on a platform?
These issues are different, Brenda. These issues are core party issues, which cut down the middle of this party. They are religious issues. Leroy, not to cut you off, but at the end of the day, you're going to see 90% of the Republican Party rally behind their nominee the same way the Democrats did in 2008. So at the end of the day, look, primaries are tough. As Mitt Romney said, it's not beanbag. Republicans can't agree in Congress now.
They
can't agree on fundamental budget issues.
Reason, well, remember though, the Republican Study Committee, which has 190 members now, is leading the. The Republican Study Committee is made up of 190 members in the House Republican caucus.
I think you guys are still going to be going when the weekend has begun.
We may. But the question about Christie, is he standing as vice president? No, I don't think so. I don't think there's any way to have
both of you say no. He's going to end. Thank you so very much. So I'm sorry to cut you off. Next, Governor Christie diversifies the state Supreme Court. We'll see who he's nominated when New Jersey Now continues. Stay tuned.